Welcome to Zodiac Talks Tarot, a space where astrology stops pretending to be mysterious and starts being useful. I'm not here to sprinkle glitter over your problems or to tell you the universe is a wish-granting machine. I'm here because, after decades of studying both the stars above and the human mind below, I've realized that what we call fate is often just psychology seen from a higher altitude. Every sign has its own operating system. And Sagittarius, yours happens to be written in fire. So let's begin not with fortune telling, but with perspective. The topic for today is Sagittarius, the cosmic reset of truth. That phrase isn't poetic marketing, it's a description of what the universe is currently doing in your chart. There are periods in life when the cosmos doesn't whisper gentle advice, it pulls the rug, shifts the ground, and asks, "Still sure about what you believe?" This is one of those moments. You didn't stumble here by accident. The algorithm might think it's coincidence, but the universe calls it timing. Now, I've been studying this sign long enough to know how your story goes. Sagittarius is the philosopher warrior, part scholar, part outlaw, part monk on a motorcycle. You chase meaning the way others chase success. You question everything: tradition, authority, your own reflection. Sometimes that makes people uncomfortable, and sometimes it makes you lonely. But that same instinct to ask why should I accept the map when I can redraw the territory, is what keeps you ahead of your time. The difference now is that the universe seems ready to answer you back. Your ruling planet, Jupiter, the planet of expansion and wisdom, is executing one of its quiet revolutions. When Jupiter moves, ideologies quake. Right now, it's pressing the reset button on your internal compass, forcing you to re-evaluate the beliefs you've been living by. Some are graduating to the next level of maturity, others are expiring like old passports. Don't mourn what falls away, it simply can't pass the next border with you. And yes, the process can look chaotic. Expansion never looks graceful when it's honest. It's like moving into a bigger house. The first week is all boxes and dust before you realize how much space you've gained. I often joke that Sagittarius energy is allergic to stagnation. You'd rather risk falling off a cliff than stay safely miserable at the top of one. That's both your gift and your hazard. When life says, "Trust the process," you're the one tapping your foot asking, "Okay, but can we accelerate it?" Jupiter laughs, because even divine timing can't outpace your curiosity. The tarot's message for this transit comes through the Hermit, one of the most misunderstood cards. People see isolation, I see incubation. In psychology, this is the gestation phase between the old self and the one being born. It's when external results pause so that your inner architecture can be rewired. You weren't failing, you were updating. Think of it like when your computer screen goes black during an update, you panic, assuming it crashed. But the system is just rewriting its own code. That's you right now. You are not lost, you're buffering. And what's loading is a new relationship to self-worth. For too long you've invested in projects, causes, or people who gave enthusiasm but no reciprocity. Not because you were naive, because generosity is your default setting. But the universe isn't asking you to shrink, it's asking you to distribute that energy with precision. In the year of triumph 2025, abundance flows toward alignment, not exhaustion. Your new motto: no more forcing what doesn't flow. So before we dive deeper into today's reading, let's acknowledge something important. Astrology isn't here to control you. It's a mirror, not a leash. The planets move, you choose how to respond. The cards reveal patterns, you decide what to repeat and what to release. You remain the author, Sagittarius, the chosen one of your own narrative. And I use that term deliberately, not as flattery but as recognition. Every era has its truth seekers, its wanderers who refuse to settle for easy answers. You're part of that lineage. This week's alignment is your invitation to graduate from theory to embodiment. The lessons you've been collecting about freedom, faith, and forgiveness are no longer conceptual, they're being tested in practice. Can you stay calm while the map redraws itself? Can you trust your own aim even when the horizon shifts? These are Jupiter's exams. And humor, by the way, is your secret weapon. Nothing disarms cosmic chaos faster than a Sagittarius laugh. The gods love someone who can giggle mid-storm. It proves they've understood the joke of existence. In the upcoming segments, we'll explore how this cosmic reset ripples through your relationships, your career, your health, and your evolving identity. We'll look at why solitude isn't a punishment but a classroom, why detours are sometimes the direct route, and why joy, simple, human, unapologetic joy is your compass out of confusion. Because truth without joy becomes doctrine, and Sagittarius was never meant to be a preacher. You were meant to be a living proof that wisdom can dance. Before we continue, breathe. Drop your shoulders. Feel the ground beneath you. Every shift in the sky has one purpose: to wake you up to your own agency. The stars don't dictate, they collaborate. What's happening above is a reflection of what's ready below. You're not waiting for permission, you're remembering power. So if lately you've felt disoriented, as though life pressed shuffle on your playlist, consider this your cosmic reset. The melodies are rearranging so the harmony can finally make sense. Soon, the noise will turn into rhythm, and you'll realize the universe wasn't punishing you, it was tuning you. Welcome to Zodiac Talks Tarot. Stay until the end, because today's reading isn't about what will happen to you, it's about what is awakening through you. Sagittarius, the fire is still yours, but the flame has matured. Let's see where it leads next. Love is the mirror through which Sagittarius learns the hardest lessons, not because you are bad at love, but because you are allergic to cages. For those who are in a relationship, this current shift is not about passion fading or commitment loosening, it is about the architecture of the bond being redesigned. The Hermit and the Chariot appearing together speak of two souls learning to walk separately while still heading toward the same horizon. Love, for a maturing Sagittarius, stops being a merger and starts being an orbit, two planets, distinct yet loyal to the same gravity. If there has been silence lately, don't rush to fill it with anxious chatter. Quiet is not abandonment, it is recalibration. It's the sound of the universe adjusting the settings on your emotional ecosystem. Give that silence a chance to speak. Often, it carries messages words are too clumsy to deliver. Your partner may be processing growth, or perhaps you are. Either way, the pause is sacred space, not a void. For those flying solo, the Death card has made an entrance. Before you panic, remember that in both tarot and psychology, death is never the end, it is a molding. The old identity, the version of you that hustled for validation, is shedding. Modern therapists call this an ego death, but ancient mystics called it awakening. You're no longer performing who you were told to be, you're becoming who you've always been beneath the costume. And, predictably, this raw honesty is magnetic. Someone is noticing maybe that colleague who smiles a second too long, or that friend who suddenly texts you about grabbing coffee. They're drawn not to your resume or your charm but to your calm confidence. They sense your evolution even if they can't articulate it. But here's the cosmic joke, you'll recognize them only after you stop scanning the crowd. The universe hides new love behind your peace, not your pursuit. The chosen ones rarely chase, they attract by frequency. So stop auditioning and start radiating. Now, let's pivot to work and abundance, the twin arenas where Sagittarius often feels both blessed and cursed. You're ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, which means you dream in widescreen but sometimes manage your life like a Wi-Fi connection, strong signal, unstable consistency. The Knight of Wands rides in here with the Emperor marching behind him, a reminder that vision without structure burns out, This combination announces that your creativity has finally found its container. After months or maybe years of half-finished projects and restless ambition, something is solidifying: a role, a venture, a partnership. Yet before you sign that contract or agree to that collaboration, pause. Don't ask, will this pay well? Ask, will this make me more myself? Because when a Sagittarius trades authenticity for approval, the loss is spiritual bankruptcy. Money, for you, has never been just currency, it's communication between your inner worth and the outer world. When you act from excitement instead of fear, opportunities rush in as if on cue. When you cling to security, they scatter like startled birds. So yes, the financial tide is turning in your favor, but that's not the main victory. The real upgrade is internal. The old myth that you must earn your worth through exhaustion is dying. You don't earn worth, you embody it. That's Jupiter's final exam. Can you expand without overextending? If you're stepping into leadership, remember that the Emperor doesn't only represent control, it represents stewardship. The universe is asking whether you can hold authority without suffocating compassion. Because influence without empathy becomes tyranny in miniature, and Sagittarius is meant to liberate, not dominate. You are moving into a chapter where your voice carries weight. Use it to build, not to broadcast. True power is quiet precision, not loud persuasion. Let's turn to the body, that inconvenient reminder that even philosophers need sleep. Lately, you've been running on what I call spiritual caffeine, a mix of adrenaline, inspiration, and denial. The body whispers first, then it complains, then it revolts. If fatigue has crept in, don't interpret it as failure, see it as feedback. Your nervous system isn't fragile, it's overbooked. What it wants is not another motivational podcast but a Sabbath. I recommend a Sagittarius detox, 1 day a week with no screens, no schedules, no need to perform usefulness. Walk somewhere aimlessly. Let your thoughts stretch without supervision. It's radical only because we've normalized burnout. And while we're dismantling avoidance, yes, it might be time for that checkup you've postponed. The stars are not diagnosing you, but they are reminding you that awareness itself is medicine. The act of taking responsibility for your body is a spiritual discipline. In Buddhist teaching, it's called mindful stewardship of the body, not because the body is eternal, but because presence through it reveals the eternal. You don't need to chase immortality, you need to inhabit vitality. Health, for Sagittarius, is not just measured in lab results, it's measured in alignment. When your actions and your beliefs contradict each other, the body becomes the courtroom where the argument plays out. The headache, the tension, the insomnia, these are not random nuisances, they are petitions for harmony. When you start making choices consistent with your truth, the body stops protesting and starts collaborating. And here's a bit of humor to keep you humble: you, of all signs, are the one who will Google how to meditate faster. That impatience is legendary, but it's also proof of your vitality. You want life to move because you trust there's more ahead. So instead of fighting that impulse, learn to channel it. Rest, then run. Breathe, then build. Silence, then strategy. Jupiter blesses rhythm, not chaos. So whether you're redefining love, redesigning your work, or recharging your energy, remember this simple wisdom: the universe doesn't take away, it reallocates. What leaves your life today isn't punishment, it's pruning. You are entering a new alignment where love feels freer, work feels truer, and health feels earned by awareness, not struggle. In this cycle, expansion isn't about doing more, it's about being more. And that, dear Sagittarius, is your truest wealth. Family has always been a paradox for Sagittarius. You crave freedom the way others crave routine, yet there's always a tug, a quiet longing for a place, or more accurately, for people where you don't have to explain yourself. This week, with the Eight of Wands stirring the air, family themes rise again like echoes in a canyon. You might hear from relatives after a long silence or find yourself drawn toward chosen family, the friends who know your spirit better than blood ever could. Some conversations will bring healing, others will simply bring clarity. Both are gifts. Healing reminds you that love can survive the storm. Clarity reminds you which storms you no longer need to enter. Sagittarius, your mythology is all about movement. You are the archer on horseback, galloping toward distant horizons. But freedom, when practiced without connection, turns into a strange kind of exile. This week invites you to redefine what belonging means. It's not about returning to the old house, the one filled with rules and expectations that no longer fit you. It's about building emotional homes, safe spaces where truth is welcome, even when it's uncomfortable. Some old family patterns may reappear like uninvited guests. You'll recognize them instantly: guilt wrapped in nostalgia, obligation dressed as love, or that unspoken family rule that you must always be the strong one. The rescuer, the peacemaker, the one who keeps the peace while others keep the drama. But the universe is gently whispering a new permission slip your way: you're allowed to rest. You're allowed to say, "Not today." Compassion does not equal compliance. You can care deeply without carrying everything. In psychological terms, that's called differentiation, the ability to love without losing yourself. In spiritual language, it's wisdom disguised as boundary. Let's move to the rhythm of the cosmos itself. Temperance, the card that embodies Sagittarius energy, appears again. It's not just your tarot symbol, it's your soul's signature. It reminds you that mastery is not measured in intensity but in pacing. Real growth doesn't sprint, it sinks. In the grand choreography of the Year of Triumph 2025, the chosen ones aren't the fastest, they're the most aligned. They know that divine timing isn't passive waiting, it's intelligent restraint. You act when the moment ripens, you rest when life whispers pause. You stop confusing delay with denial. Here's the irony: the universe loves to play on repeat. The moment you stop chasing, everything starts gravitating toward you. Recognition, love, opportunity, they all have a funny way of finding the person who's too busy being real to beg for them. If you've been waiting for acknowledgement in your work, your art, or your relationships, it's coming. But it won't arrive as applause, it will arrive as peace. You'll feel it as the quiet certainty that you no longer have to prove what's already evident. Recognition isn't validation, it's resonance. Now, let's talk about humor. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, planet of wisdom and cosmic comedy. You've always understood that enlightenment without laughter turns into arrogance. So please, don't make your spiritual evolution feel like jury duty. Laugh when Mercury retrograde delays your flight, again. Laugh when your meditation app freezes right at the moment you find serenity. Laugh when your own impatience sabotages your Zen playlist. The universe adores your humor, it's proof you haven't been hijacked by your ego. You're the philosopher who can roast the cosmos and still get invited back to its parties. That's your gift, to stay light enough to learn, grounded enough to grow, and funny enough to survive both. Your humor isn't avoidance, it's medicine. It keeps your mind from calcifying under the weight of its own insight. It's what allows you to face the absurdity of human existence without becoming cynical. Because let's be honest, life can be ridiculous. People argue about being right while forgetting how to be kind. Plans fall apart right after we finally relax. Yet, Sagittarius, you somehow keep faith in meaning. That faith is not blind optimism, it's a muscle you've trained by falling down and laughing on the way back up. Zoom out with me now. This so-called major shift isn't an external earthquake, it's an inner migration. You are moving from reaction to creation, from proving to allowing. In Jungian psychology, this stage is called individuation, when the self stops performing for the tribe and starts listening to the soul. It's when you stop needing to be the wise one, the counselor, the comic relief, or the hero, and finally give yourself permission to be the real one. Ironically, authenticity turns out to be the highest wisdom. The Buddhists call this moment the dissolution of illusion, the realization that there is nothing to defend because truth needs no defense. When that awareness lands, peace stops being a goal and becomes a natural state. You're no longer trying to earn rest, you're simply inhabiting it. And from that stillness, life begins to cooperate again. In practical terms, this means that conflicts which once felt urgent start to lose their voltage. People who once triggered you begin to look more like teachers than enemies. You start to notice humor even in hardship. You might still get annoyed, sure, but underneath that irritation is compassion for everyone stumbling toward clarity, just like you. That's the Sagittarius superpower, seeing the human comedy in divine lessons. As 2025 unfolds, your journey isn't about chasing expansion, it's about cultivating ease. The chosen ones this year are not those who shout the loudest or manifest the most followers, they're the ones who remain calm in the storm because they've stopped confusing chaos with progress. Your task, Sagittarius, is not to run faster but to choose where to run. Not every battlefield deserves your arrows. Some deserve your absence. So when family calls and the old dynamics resurface, smile like a monk who has seen this play before. Love them, but don't audition for your old role. When work accelerates, remember that steady focus beats frantic movement. And when laughter bubbles up at life's contradictions, let it out. That laughter is grace disguised as breath. In the end, all the spiritual teachings, the psychology, the astrology, they all converge on one truth: freedom and belonging are not opposites. They're two wings of the same bird. Freedom without connection isolates. Connection without freedom suffocates. True mastery is learning to fly with both. And this, Sagittarius, is your cosmic assignment: to belong without being bound, to love without losing, to lead without dominating, to laugh without forgetting why you came. Destiny is a word people like to romanticize, but after a lifetime of studying astrology, psychology, and the intricate dance between cause and consequence, I can tell you that destiny is not a dictator, it's a collaborator. The universe hands you the paper and pen, but you decide what language to write in. The current reading spoke of the numbers 3 and 9 and the color royal blue. In symbolic terms, 3 represents creation, the spark of something new, while 9 represents completion, the graceful closure of an old chapter. Royal blue, meanwhile, is sovereignty, the reminder that you are, and have always been, the ruler of your own domain. Put plainly, you're not waiting for fate to rescue you, you're reclaiming the authorship of your story. If you feel monotony settling over you today, don't mistake it for stagnation. Monotony is often the universe's way of resetting your rhythm. It's the inhale before the exhale, the moment before new momentum begins. Something unseen is forming just beyond the edges of your current awareness, and soon enough, it will ask for your participation. When it comes to human connections, the cosmic map is pointing toward a triad of signs that can profoundly influence your week: Aries, Leo, and Aquarius. Aries brings courage, the fire that ignites dormant ambition. Leo brings loyalty, the steady heartbeat of passion that doesn't fade when attention shifts elsewhere. Aquarius brings clarity, the clean air of higher thought that cuts through emotional fog. Together, they form a sacred trinity of momentum, heart, and vision. If one of these signs enters your orbit now, pay attention. It won't be random. Cosmic scheduling rarely is. But remember, compatibility doesn't always wear the costume of romance. Sometimes it's the friend who reminds you of your forgotten potential, the mentor who challenges your comfort zone, or even a stranger whose passing comment reframes your entire outlook. The most profound connections are rarely the loudest, they're the ones that quietly reroute the trajectory of your story. Now, let's talk about something deeper, the energy of the chosen ones. I don't mean that in the mythic, cinematic sense of a hero bathed in divine light. I mean it in the quiet, spiritual sense that certain souls, during certain historical moments, incarnate to anchor higher awareness when the world begins to lose its compass. Sagittarius, you are one of them. That restlessness you've been feeling is not aimlessness, it's a summons. It's the soul's GPS recalculating its route toward purpose. The world doesn't just need your enthusiasm, it needs your resilient optimism, the kind that acknowledges broken systems yet believes in unbreakable spirit. You've always been the philosopher who laughs at chaos but still holds space for hope. In the year of triumph 2025, your victory won't be flashy. It won't need an audience or applause. It will arrive in a quiet morning when you're sipping coffee and suddenly realize that the war inside you has gone silent. You'll understand that you no longer fight for peace because you've become peace itself. That's the threshold moment, the instant when wisdom stops being theory and becomes instinct. The chosen ones aren't defined by miracles, they're defined by mastery over the ordinary. You've earned that mastery through heartbreak, through persistence, through the humility to laugh at your own contradictions. As we close this reading, take a breath and remember, you're not behind. You're not late. You are right on schedule in your cosmic practicum, the phase where all the lessons you've collected are being tested in real time. You might feel the paradox of being both exhausted and electrified, uncertain yet strangely clear. That's the unmistakable sign of expansion. Growth isn't linear, it's spiral. You return to familiar lessons, but each time at a higher octave. You revisit pain not to suffer it again, but to finally understand it. And when monotony visits, don't interpret it as failure. Even stars appear still from a distance, yet inside, they are burning with unfathomable intensity. That's you, Sagittarius, serene on the surface, metamorphosing beneath. You're a walking paradox, both student and teacher, both fire and calm. You've learned to hold contradiction the way others hold comfort. It's why your wisdom doesn't sound like preaching, it sounds like truth spoken with humor. So wear that royal blue scarf or shirt not because it's lucky, but because it symbolizes the sovereignty you've reclaimed. Walk through the day with your characteristic mix of humor, heart, and holy mischief. Make the universe laugh with your audacity to hope, even when logic protests. Destiny, at this point, is not testing you, it's trusting you. The universe no longer questions your readiness, it's already rearranging the next adventure to match your courage. And before you go, a final reflection. Life isn't waiting to happen after you've perfected yourself. It's happening right now, in the middle of the mess, the laughter, and the quiet mornings when you question everything. You were never meant to master life, you were meant to experience it fully, consciously, joyfully. So stop apologizing for your curiosity, your laughter, your refusal to shrink. You are the universe discovering itself through human form, and that's worth celebrating. If this message resonates with you, take it as a nudge to stay connected with the journey we're building together here on Zodiac Talks Tarot. Like this video if it spoke to your truth. Share it with another Sagittarius or anyone who might need a reminder that peace is not something you chase but something you become. And subscribe if you haven't already, because the stars may guide us, but it's community that grounds us. Every conversation here is part of that larger map, each one a reminder that none of us navigate alone. So step into this next chapter, Sagittarius, with humor as your armor and purpose as your compass. The world needs your perspective, the rare combination of intellect and warmth, of philosophy and playfulness. Remember, you are not here to survive the cosmic joke, you are here to deliver the punchline. The universe is smiling. It knows you're ready.